What if you could predict the theme of your year using one simple astrology technique, one that's been used for centuries to help people understand major life cycles, business breakthroughs, and personal growth? This technique is called Annual Profections, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to work out which house is being activated for you this year and how to use it to align your business, your career, and your life decisions. This technique is so good. I use it every year for myself and my clients. And if you want to take this even further, I've created a step-by-step workshop to guide you through how to do this for yourself. And you can find all the details in the description box or show notes below. So let's dive in. What are annual profections? And it's important to note that it's profection, not perfection. Annual profections are an ancient Hellenistic astrology technique that assigns each year of your life to a specific house in your natal chart. What we're doing with annual profections is we are moving your rising sign forward by one sign, one house each year. Okay, so every 12 years, because there are 12 houses in your chart, the cycle repeats. So if you think back to 12 years ago, you might notice similar themes to those that are going on for you right now. That's because you are in that same house activation again, that same perfected house again. So it's really important when you are working with annual profections that you use the whole sign house system. This will be the most accurate, easiest way to do this. So how to find your annual profection year? You start with your age. Your first year of life is 0, and that is a first house year. You count forward by one house each year. So when you turn 12, you return to a first house year again. Your birthday signals the shift, not the calendar year. So if your birthday is on January 1, awesome for you. That makes it really simple. But if you have a birthday in the middle of the year, look out for the change in theme around your birthday time. That's when your house profection changes. There are free online tools to help you calculate your annual profection year, but it's really simple. You just need to look at a chart. I have all of this available for you in my Profections workshop. But if you can also find a Profections wheel online where you can just see your age and you can see the house that is activated for that age in the Profections wheel. So this is, like I said, a very simple tool to use, but it is so spot on. I love it so much. And my clients always give me some profound insight into how that shows up for them in their life as well. So what does each profection year mean? A first house year. This is when you are 0, when you've just been born, when you turn 12, when you turn 24, when you turn 36, when you turn 48, and so on. This is your time to shine. A first house year is all about you, because that is the first house is the house of identity. It's the house of personal brand. It's also the house of self-discovery and a bit of reinvention and stepping into your identity, perhaps in a new way. You might even do some things to change or upgrade your appearance, your mindset, or something that you're doing in terms of your life direction as well, your business direction potentially. A first house year is that kind of coming out year. A second house year is all about self-worth and finances. So this is where your revenue, the way you generate income, and the way you value yourself comes into real focus. And you will be focused on your resources, your income, and how you are basically making and spending money when you're in a second house year. But you might also find that you're very much focused on how you value yourself as well and your own sense of self-worth. And some themes around self-worth kind of repeat themselves over the course of that second house profection year. Now, a third house year, that is all about learning, communicating, and potentially some sort of day-to-day activities that you're doing, some things in your local area, the way that you're communicating with people that you would consider to be family as well. And that can have to do with your business too. I often associate the third house with things like email marketing, people that are in your close community. You might take a course when you're in a third house year. You might create a course when you're in a third house year. You might start a podcast or start wanting to talk more about the things that you know and that you want to share about. Or you might simply just be looking at improving your messaging, your communication style with your kind of close audience. A fourth house year, this is about home, about family, and some foundational work here. It's emotional foundation, internal foundation, business foundation. So in a fourth house year, you might find you are moving, relocating, deepening family connections, reconnecting with your family, or reconnecting with things that feel like home to you. There is a big emphasis on your private life in a fourth house year. And there can be a big emphasis also in business on the foundations of the business, the environment of the business, like the home of the business as well. A fifth house year, this is your creative year. There's a lot of creativity, joy, self-expression, playfulness in this year. It's generally associated with your creations, potentially with your children. You can be quite busy if you have kids. You might be quite busy with them in a fifth house profection year. This is a great time in business to consider creating something new. Whether it's a new program, a new offering, maybe you are bringing something forth into the world in your fifth house year. Consider that. A sixth house year is all about work. Yes, it sounds boring, but it's actually very constructive. So there's a lot going on in a sixth house year around systems, processes, streamlining of things, and making more of a daily routine and ritual, bringing more of that into your days. You might be revamping some habits. You might be revamping the way that you work in some way, or refining the systems and processes that you have in your work to be more efficient. A seventh house year, this is where it all focuses on relationships and contracts. So whether that be personal relationships, one-on-one relationships, but I like to see this year as the year of clients. There is a lot going on between you and your clients and in your contractual relationships in a seventh house year. You might be forming new client relationships. You might be ending significant client relationships. You might find that you are redefining boundaries in relationships in this year, or creating new business collaborations. An eighth house year. This year is all about shared resources. We are talking about debts, investments, and potentially loans, taxes, all of that stuff as well. It's about the money that you kind of need access to, but is not yours, so to speak. And so this is all getting organized, right? You are getting organized with your shared resources. It can also have to do with your collaborators in business. It can have to do with your collaborators in life. There could be something going on for your significant other in an eighth house year as well. You could also be dealing with some psychological and emotional healing in an eighth house year as well. A ninth house year is all about expansion. There's a lot of potential for travel, for learning big picture ideas, for publishing and stepping into a bigger role. This could be a more global role in some way as well. You could also this could be another year where you are putting a podcast out into the world, or putting a book out into the world, or something like that. There is some part of you that is going further in a ninth house year. That leads us into a 10th house year. So I just want to touch on before I go to the 10th house year, I just want to touch on, you may be, if you are 32, 44, 56, you are in a ninth house year. And as I said earlier, if you're 33, 45, 57, you are going into a 10th house year. So these years are very business focused and very expansive and very visible years, 9th, 10th, and 11th house years. And that's why I have stopped to focus on those. So when you move into a 10th house year, you start to notice career recognition, more business recognition, some public visibility, some leadership Your 10th house year is a time to be seen. So when you move into the following year, which is an 11th house year, you will be 34, 46, 58, and so on. This is where you start to also feel some shift around your continued shift around your visibility and your social impact. So you might be doing more networking, you might be doing more kind of social activities to get visible for your business. You might be growing your audience or aligning with a new audience in some way. This is another one of those visible years. Then we move into a 12th house year. And this is a year that is much quieter. This is a year of rest, of introspection, of releasing old cycles. There is some spiritual growth happening here. There is also a lot of behind the scenes work going on. So I was speaking with a client earlier this week about how there may be some things going on in the background. Maybe you're getting something ready to unveil in your first house year, which is the following profection year. Maybe you are working away on your personal brand in order to unveil it when you reach that next year. So consider the work that you're doing on yourself, the behind the scenes stuff that's happening in your business and your personal life. What are you working through emotionally, psychologically, spiritually as well? And that is all adding to your personal brand when you come out into the next year. So this happens, a 12th house year happens when you are 35, when you're 47, and again when you're 59. So consider if you are those ages that you might be in this quieter phase, and that's why things might have felt a little more slow or a little more, you might have felt a little more isolated in a 12th house year as well. Check out my workshop for more detail on how all of this works too. There's a lot more that can be said about each of these years. Before we go any further, let me know in the comments what is your perfected house for the year. I would love to know. I am in a 6th house perfection year, so it is all about work for me and streamlining my processes. But tell me which house you are in. And if, as I said, if you want to know more, check out my workshop. The next thing that I want you to consider, and this is a bit of a deeper dive, this is taking it to the next level, is your time lord for the year. So this is the ruling planet of your perfected house. So you want to pay attention to that planet. So for instance, if you are in a 2nd house year and the zodiac sign on your 2nd house is Virgo or Gemini, those signs are ruled by the planet Mercury. So Mercury is your time lord for that year. And you want to consider what Mercury is doing throughout the year, because that is when you're likely to see some activations, some heightened activations of your 2nd house theme. So for instance, Mercury retrogrades may bring some heightened activations of financial and self-worth themes that are the 2nd house themes. You also want to consider the zodiac sign as well, and note that, for instance, a Virgo 2nd house might be very focused on the details. So you might be really more focused on the details than you normally would in other years. I want you to consider those things, and it would be fantastic if you want to take this further for you to check out my Annual Profections workshop. It is called Unlock the Theme of Your Year. It is linked to in the description box or the show notes below this. I do a full step-by-step rundown of how this works. It's only 55 Australian dollars, which is less than 35 US dollars. If you've done my Cosmic Business Planning workshop for 2025, this may also really help you to understand what is actually at play for you in this year and what transits are going to be the most impactful for you as well. I also have other videos on how to plan with astrology in this playlist, which I will link to next. You want to check that out. We're talking about planning with the moon. We're talking about the big mistake you might be making when it comes to planning your year in business. And we're also talking about the 5 cosmic steps you can do right now to set yourself up for success in 2025. So check those out. Let me know if you already know this. What is your perfected house for 2025? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear it.